Welcome back. It's the First Generation Suburbs podcast. I'm Myron.
And I'm Faith.
And we are back with another episode. Now listen, if you've been wondering where we've been, searched all over, couldn't find no podcast. Looked high and low, still couldn't find no podcast. No First Gen podcast. No First Gen podcast. We ain't had no content. Well, there's a good reason we had to take a pause. A pregnant pause. Check this out.
Negative. I just realized in this moment I haven't taken a pregnancy test in like 6 months, mostly because they've always been negative, except the one time I got pregnant. And seeing negative pregnancy tests makes me so sad. And I'm already really sad today. Big fat negative. After years of trying to conceive doctor's appointments and deciding to get a major surgery, I decided to change my mind and change my perspective because I was drowning in my own grief.
I have never been more proud of myself, and I feel like I'm coming back home to me, and it's going to make me tear up, but I feel like I'm coming back home to myself, and I am just so grateful. You've heard the news. I am indeed pregnant.
She's giving me another baby without me having to pay for him. We praise God.
You know, we just be doing each other favors. You know what I mean?
I know. This is great. Faith helped raise my 2 kids, and now they're almost grown, it feels like. And now Faith is finally giving me a kid to return the favor. She needs to go out of town, somebody to babysit. Finally, I get to return the favor. And I do it with gladness in my heart because I'm not going to lie. I've wanted another baby in the family for a while, and we finally have it. So we praise God. This has been a long road. I remember back when you know, like we showed in the video, you had some tears. There were some tears you had to get through. A lot of strong emotions. You got your miracle.
Yes.
You prayed for it. You believed for it. You did the science. You did all the things. You used wisdom, and God met you somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
And the crazy part is right before you were supposed to start.
Right before it's supposed to start IVF. Which is pretty crazy.
It's wild. It's wild that God did it just like that.
Yeah.
So talk to me about getting your miracle, right? There's a lot of ladies that it hasn't happened. For some women, it won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the thing. We're both Christians. We both express our faith, I think in different ways, but very similar ways, very grounded ways. And one of the things about trusting God is, what does it look like to trust God when it doesn't shake the way that you want it? And then how do you bounce back once it does shake the way that you want it? It's like, oh, God met me in a real place. He met my need. But you had to go from the why not God and have to work all the way through that and heal through that before you got to where you are now. So talk to us about that a little bit.
I think for me, it's been a long journey. Being somebody that was, raised in Texas, all of the friends I had from college, everybody, they all get married so young. They get married 21, 22, 23, 24. Like, so by the time I was, 24-ish, most of my friends in their friend group had gotten married already. So I was having to go through like reinventing friend groups over and over and over and over and over again. So I met my husband in 2020. We got married in 2021. We got pregnant for the first time in 2022 and then had a miscarriage on our first year anniversary of being married. And that was really difficult because the next month I was supposed to release my book and do all this book promotion stuff, which was really hard to do when I've been like the kind of person that wanted to have kids since I was a little kid. Like I've always loved children.
Always.
Like babies, hanging out with kids. Like it's never been one of those things where I'm like, I don't like those little kids. Like I've always been like, oh, I love kids. Like I want to hang out with them, babysat, worked at daycares, all that stuff. So, yeah.
Working at there, I remember that.
I worked at.
You was working with kids forever.
Yeah, I worked at daycares, all that stuff. The only reason
you always used to say, sorry, catch you.
Go ahead.
You always used to say, I want. First, it's crazy when she was younger. It started off maybe like 6 or 7. I want 12 kids, and I used to say that is.
I always said I wanted 6.
No. You started off with 12. By the time you got to like 10, 11, you were like, I only want 6. I think some realities have set in, but not really, because 6 kids, you're still delusional.
Yeah.
Whatever. Shout out to all the big families out there. 6 kids plus, God bless you and your wallets. But you've always wanted like kids. I've always been like, I could have kids or I could adopt kids, whatever. It's kind of go with the flow for me. And we had 2 kids real fast on accident. So, yeah, on accident. I don't, like, when people talk about we planned our kids, both our kids was like, hey, I was like, oh, shoot. My wife was older, so I didn't know how this thing was going to shake. It shaked immediately. But for you, like, you had to go through
a lot. Like, I didn't think I was going to have to go through. So, the long and short of it is, like many Black women, I ended up having fibroids. I didn't know I had fibroids. I didn't find out I had fibroids until we were miscarrying and at the ER, and the person asked me if I knew if I had fibroids, which I did not. It turned out over time.
What is that? What does fibroids? Educate us.
I know the best at educating.
I know I call this edutainment, what this pod is supposed to be. Break down what fibroids is, like some masses of flesh in your body somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I would essentially say that it's almost like almost like little like tumor-like, things that like fill your uterus. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to explain this right, okay? But
they took these little tumor-like.
Yeah, they're not cancerous.
Right, but they're in there. But what they can cause is like really painful periods, heavy flows. They can prevent you from getting pregnant. Yikes.
And the other thing that can be really intense is endometriosis, which I had never thought that I had endometriosis, but my aunt, my mother's sister, had told me that I need to ask the doctor about that because she had a history of it, which I did ask the doctor about. And then after my second surgery, found out that I did have endometriosis, but it was really small. The thing that was shocking for me about my whole journey is that I never had the debilitating symptoms that a lot of people have when they have these conditions with fibroids and endometriosis. Like, it can be extremely painful and also just like very life altering. But I never experienced that. And I had like really regular periods, which those are a lot of different things that people don't have.
Right.
So the whole journey in and of itself was a shock to me because as far as I thought my body
You was going
doing,
through the game like everything is normal,
Yeah.
not having any problems, nothing I need to get checked
Yeah,
out.
I'm like, my body's doing what it needs to do. You know, there's no issues. I've never had it flagged for me at like a, you know, OBGYN appointment. But the big thing about a lot of this stuff is you don't actually find it unless you're getting like a MRI or an ultrasound, things like that. So,
That's crazy.
So unless I was just actively having something going on and I was getting something like that, then I wouldn't have known. But knowing what I know now, I advocate for all of my friends, especially my friends in their 30s, like if they're not married yet, but they want to be, or they want to have kids one day, married or not, go to the doctor and get your exams, get your ultrasounds, get your, you know, egg count checked. Like just do all that stuff early and start figuring out the changes you need to make sooner. That was something that I like didn't know and didn't think that it was a big deal, so I didn't do. But going through the process, I'm like, oh, wow, I wish I would have known about this sooner. So then I could have started maybe addressing some of these things, but I had no clue. So, so we spent 3 years trying to get pregnant. We got pregnant that one time, and we had not been able to get pregnant successfully since, even with assistance. We did an IUI, which is kind of like essentially like a fertility treatment step before you do IVF. It's something that people try. And we did 3 rounds of that, and it did not work. And I remember being so stressed trying to get to the clinic, which was like over an hour away from where we live. My husband and I driving this long drive there, trying to do tests, trying to make it all happen. You know, he's supporting me. We're doing it together, but like his faith was really like, I want us to get pregnant naturally. I was like, it ain't working. You know, whatever we got to do, let's just do it all and see what happens. But it didn't work. And so, you know, year 1 of infertility was a lot of like sadness and depression because I was really sad about the baby we lost and sad that I wasn't able to get pregnant again. Year 2 was me determining to try to figure out what stress felt like in my body, what my body felt like at rest, and not in a heightened state. And I had spent years with my body in this like fight or flight mode, but I didn't know what not being stressed felt like. And I remember Mom actually saying that. She's like, you need to learn what not feeling stressed is like.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know, you know. And I finally started paying attention to my body and realizing, oh, this is what I feel like when I'm not stressed. And this is what I feel like when I'm stressed, which was a really big key for me. And that was in 2024. 2025, really dialed in after talking to my brother and being really, really sad that our last IUI didn't work and feeling defeated. Like, we're trying everything. It's not working. I'm getting older, you know. I'm 35. I wanted to have kids a long time by now. Now I'm going to be like the, you know, freaking grandma with my kids in these classes.
Not out here.
I'm like, well, yeah, not in Maryland, thankfully. But we ended up doing one big surgery that I was like, you know, trying to avoid. But we did one big surgery. It ended up being like a really big blessing. And I remember something the doctor said to me.
You got to say it right. You got to say the whole thing.
What?
Because I feel like the anesthesiologist, was it the anesthesiologist? Or was it the doctor that was performing the surgery?
What did he, the doctor. I don't know what you're thinking though.
Somebody was mean to you, or you thought that they didn't have a great bedside manner, but they told you something that stuck.
Yeah, he didn't. The surgeon. He didn't have
surgeon.
Yeah, he didn't have the best bedside manner.
Yeah, he was mean.
But there was 2 things that he had said. One was that, like, because one thing I didn't realize was, like, the anesthesia, because I was under for so long, it had affected my body. And, like, I was really, like, everything was slow. It, like, was so slow to come back, like, rev up. So I had a fatigue for a few months. And he had said there's going to come a point where you won't even feel like you even had a surgery. Like, you're going to feel even better than you felt before. And because I didn't have a lot of pain and stuff, I was like, I don't know, I'm going to feel better than I felt before, but whatever. And over time, I realized, oh, he's right. Like, I do feel better than I felt before. But another thing that he had said to me was, I know you're planning on doing IVF, but you shouldn't stop trying naturally. You should still try. And I remember being like, okay. And the lady that we actually had worked with at the fertility clinic, that doctor ended up leaving the country, and so we were...
I didn't even know she left the country.
Yeah, she left the country. And we really liked her. And she was such a good advocate for me. She didn't pressure me into anything. But she also was, a proponent for, like, make sure you still try naturally. So I really dialed into yoga, though. I remember Myron, like, really pushing me, like, you got to commit to it. You can't just, like, kind of half it, because I was halving it. And I committed, and then I spent the summer just really healing and, not focusing on getting pregnant after spending 3 years focused on getting pregnant. And I just went to yoga, 4 to 6 days a week, cleaned up my eating, worked with my doctor to lose weight. And I just, really start to shift my mindset. And I will say, I think my mindset is what shifted more than anything. And I remember talking to God and just, feeling like the Lord was impressing me to believe that I could get pregnant naturally. And thinking, yeah, right. But I was like, I have a mustard seed of faith, and that's all you're going to probably get out of me. And I can do that. And so, and I visually know what a mustard seed looks like, because for 2 years, I've had this onesie on my wall that says, this onesie is for you to see me before you see me, essentially. And my friend had given it to me, and then on it has a packet of mustard seeds attached to it. And I've had it sitting next to my bed where I can see it for 2 years. And my husband and I had also bought some onesies, and we've had those onesies on our wall for like almost 2 years as well. So over the years, we've picked up different faith items. And one of the most recent faith items we picked up when we were at Disney for my husband's birthday was a little stuffy. And we're like, let's just get this little, like, stuffy and faith for, a kid one day. And we got it. And
what kind of stuffy was it?
It was a little
cuddly.
It was a little elephant.
Dumbo?
No.
Oh.
It was just a cute little elephant.
Oh,
I'll have to show you a picture. But
yeah.
The cutest little elephant. And
as long as it wasn't Dumbo. Racist.
No, it wasn't Dumbo.
Okay, go ahead.
So we got that. And then from that day, probably like 4 or 5 days later, we ended up getting pregnant. And I didn't find out until I was coming back home from a work trip. And my husband had come to pick me up, and we were driving back home, and I was just not feeling like myself the past few days. So that's when I ended up taking a test, seeing that I was pregnant. And the crazy thing is, we were rushing home because I needed to start the birth control that night in order to be prepared to start the egg retrieval process for IVF. And so I was rushing home because I was like, we have to get the medication. I left it. Like, I need to take it.
Look at God.
And so thank God I didn't take it, obviously. But I was rushing home for that. And then I was like, I feel like I need to take a pregnancy test. So I didn't even take the medication yet because I knew I needed to take a test first because my cycle hadn't started. So I took the test, and then it was positive. And then really the rest is history. So like I just announced it on social media, and I think people probably think I'm like really early along. I'm halfway. I'm halfway there. But I'm really grateful. God has been really good to us.
Yeah.
It's been like some of the hardest times of my life, though. I have to be honest. Like, I've gone to like prayer nights at church, like Saturday prayers. And I remember a few years ago sitting next to Myron, and I was crying. And I was like, why isn't God doing it? Like, why hasn't God done it? And I just remember thinking to myself, like, I feel like I've been faithful. I have done the things like they say to do, live your life right, etc. And like the things that like I've desired have taken longer to get to me. Like, it took me longer to get married. It's taken me longer to have kids. Like, why is this happening to me? I felt like I was getting punished. And like I was forgotten about. And I just really had to take time this summer, especially to just reframe my mind and just hold on to peace and, ask the Lord to really, renew my mind and help me to trust.
That's good. I think it's so tough going through tough times, but when you have a relationship with God, the power of the peace of God that you can tap into is unlike anything that you can try. I've tried pretty much everything that's out there, and nothing works better than the presence of God. And I mean, it's not the intention for what I was trying to talk about today on the pod, but I think when it comes to being disappointed, not getting what you feel like you want, not getting what you feel like you need, not feeling like you're heard, not feeling like you're seen, feeling forgotten, feeling abandoned, when you're able to get to the place where you say, wait a minute, I know I'm not abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, I know I'm not alone. And even though it's not going like I would have designed it, I'm going to trust in faith that it's going to work out for my good. And that right there is faith.
Yeah.
That is faith. I don't know how it's going to shake out like it's supposed to, but I'm not going to stop holding on to the hope that it will shake out better than I would have imagined.
Yeah.
And I think that is the most difficult part of having a relationship with God, is faith, is holding on to a level of hope that I can't see and I can't attain on my own. And I've really got to reach out to a source outside of myself to renew me from the inside out. Because that's the reality. And I think it's important. Like you talked about having to change your mindset, having to move your mindset off of the disappointment, the hurt, what didn't happen, and really get grounded for yourself, which I think is super important.
Yeah, you have to shift, First of all, I just want to say it's hard. It's really hard. There's nothing about what the Lord has done for us that I feel is especially, unique.
Yeah.
I think that
Not magical.
I think that it has been a very difficult process. I have cried and wept more, in the last probably 5 years of my life, just due to all the things that I've gone through in the last 5 years. And that's just trauma, other things, and you build upon that, trying to also have kids, and it's just been a lot. And I have felt like I have just walked through some really tough, hard spaces and asked God some really deep questions and, wondered, are you punishing me? Is this is this never going to happen? And even once we got pregnant, you all, I was still crying. I was still nervous. I was still scared. I had a book I was reading with Faith and scriptures. My husband would give me the little bear that we got in Faith to cuddle with and sleep with in the bed when I was feeling anxious and fearful. What if we lose this, baby? What if the pregnancy doesn't stick? And I had to consistently renew my mind, consistently pray, consistently do that. And I still do it. I still do it to this day.
And you're going to keep having to do it, especially when this baby show up. My God, because don't nothing make you pray like having kids. Jesus, help me. Oh, that's a different topic for a different day. But that consistent prayer. Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all this for real. If you got kids and you don't pray, something's gonna not go the way you need it to. Okay, you need the wisdom of God to raise kids right. The Holy Ghost is gonna give you tips and insight and wisdom and peace that you can't get yourself. you know? And I think like it's a tough business. It's a tough business with the mind that's not renewed, you know?
Yeah.
When you let your brain wander, when you let your anxiety take the driver's seat, it's not a fun journey.
It's hard. And
it's tough.
And also, it is hard to trust when you feel like you've been disappointed, you know?
That's good.
I wrote about this on my Substack in like part 4 of like a series I'm calling The Silent Years, because that's what I have felt like it has been for me with infertility. Just
subscribe to our Substack.
Yeah. So you should subscribe. That it has been just this period of silent years.
Yeah.
This period of invisible motherhood. You were pregnant. You don't have any baby to show for it. You know, there's church on Mother's Day and like people are handing out flowers and you're like, well, I don't know if I should take one because I don't really have a kid here to show you. And it's this whole experience, which is why I actually don't typically go to church on Mother's Day.
You should come to church on Mother's Day.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, you know, the baby will be around by then.
And if you don't have a baby, still come to church on Mother's Day in faith. Or if you don't have a kid, this is the other thing. I just want to interrupt real fast because I'm a pastor. Listen. For the ladies out there that may not have ever had a kid, one of the most valuable things in anybody's community is spiritual mothers. And I feel like the tradition of spiritual mothers has been lost in our non-denominational kind of, franchise church. You know what I mean? Like, in the way that we currently do church. And I don't think that it's the fault of the church necessarily, but we need to regroup the traditions. And that's not something that needs to come from the senior pastor. Your senior pastor doesn't need to tell you to be a spiritual mother. To find somebody that is in need of love and care and community, and you being the person to meet that need. Nobody has to give you permission to love somebody. That's just something that everyone's called to do. So come to church on Mother's Day and bring your spiritual kids and get one of them roses, because it's a valuable part of the community that we need to always have. There's always been a tradition of, even if someone is a widow or a person is an orphan, of marrying those two together so that somebody is able, so that there is a meeting of a need on multiple levels. And I feel like our culture needs that. We have such a siloed culture, and I think it's unhealthy. And I think that the space for spiritual motherhood, spiritual sonship and daughtership, people caring and loving for other people, I think is valuable. Okay, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think that's a really good point. I think I've seen maybe like one church or two like actually do something like really special for like moms that were struggling with infertility, and I wish more churches did it.
Yeah.
And I just know that like every Mother's Day has kind of felt like this like hard, weighty thing for me, and this will be the first year in multiple years that I will be able to really celebrate and experience it. And it was so funny because a friend messaged me and was like, you'll get to really celebrate Mother's Day. And I was just like, oh wow,
right near my birthday.
Yeah,
another celebration that you get to join in on near my time, but whatever. It's not about the great guy.
So I'm really grateful. I feel really at peace. This has been such a peaceful pregnancy for me. I have
been sleeping for months, rested, and not been recording content with her brother. Keep going.
I've rested, but I also just feel like generally like, that it's almost been like a gift from God to have, like, after going through so much and having surgeries and doing all this stuff, to have a peaceful pregnancy has honestly been a gift. And it's something that I don't take for granted.
That's what I was going to say. And that's how God rewards his people now. And the word says that you're redeemed from the curse, including the pain of childbirth, because that was part of the curse. So claim the promises.
I mean, yeah, I was, thankfully able to get pregnant, almost let's say almost 5-ish months after I had surgery. So I'm thankful for no big complications, because that was a tough surgery to recover from. So
God is faithful. So that brings us to 2020. We're coming into 2026, right? You're planning for motherhood and the full time. The little baby is here. Are you going to announce to the people the gender, or are you keeping that secret?
I'll tell you in the next episode.
All right. Let's hit that in part 2. We're going to hit y'all in part 2, talking about the new year. All right. Listen, this is the First Generation Suburbs podcast. This is part 1 of the 2026 update. We love y'all. We'll see y'all in the next episode.